Hi, welcome. This week I'm joined by a lady called Saiqua. She is an assistant principal in an all-girls school in Tower Hamlets and has been working in the profession for about 25 years. Um, Saiqua will talk about working with ITT, so initial teacher training, developing middle leaders, but really importantly, working with the community manager. As you know, in this podcast, I'm trying to find people who aren't just sort of like that teacher mold, people who do things within education, which is just slightly different. And while ITT and developing middle leaders isn't slightly different, there's lots of people who do it. The methodology of what Saiqua does to get to the end is really important. She's all about inspiration, all about motivation, and all about making sure the teachers have the resilience on dark Decembers and Januaries to go into the classrooms and be successful. Because if you've got happy, motivated teachers, you should have happy, motivated students, and therefore the community will only thrive. Welcome to this week's episode of Unassuming Heroes. Hi, and welcome. And I've got Saiqua with me. Saiqua, I used to work in an all-girls school in London, in Bermondsey. You work in an all-girls school in Tower Hamlets. Please tell me about it and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Saiqua. I'm an assistant head teacher in an inner city London girls' school in Tower Hamlets. I have about 1,500 girls in the school from 11 to 18, and we serve a community where students come from quite disadvantaged backgrounds. So it's all about inspiring, motivating, and getting these girls to aspire and break those glass ceilings and develop their confidence, really, and know that they can achieve anything and provide them with the opportunity to achieve whatever they set their mind to, but also make them believe that they can achieve it. That's the hard part.
And yeah, that is the hard part.
Yeah.
And obviously, the purpose of my little podcast is to try and find people in education who aren't, and it's going to sound awful, every time I say it, it sounds really bad, who aren't just all focused on the education front. You do some other stuff which is really cool. Tell me about the extra stuff that you do.
Oh, I absolutely love the fact that my job is so varied. So I'm an assistant head, and in that role, I get to lead on initial teacher training, which is looking at all of the new teachers that are coming in and supporting them, motivating them, ensuring their mentors feel supported to support them, and making sure that they are ready to move in the forward direction and stay in the profession. But also, I line manage co-curricular and extracurricular provision within the school, and that's to ensure that our students have access to opportunities and can develop their cultural capital and student leadership abilities, so that they can see themselves as future leaders, but also can develop holistically as individuals, develop their core skills and develop characteristic behaviours that will help them feel empowered.
It's really good that you said initial teacher training, because the biggest thing with people who aren't in education is you'll drop in an ITT and what's the acronym BITE? So you must be used to just not using the acronym. So you then, that means ITT, initial teacher training, development middle leaders, and the newer teachers into the profession. It is, while lots of people do that across the country and across the education sector, it's a huge job at the minute for lots of reasons. Are you experiencing in Tower Hamlets teachers leaving the profession, which therefore puts a bit more pressure on you?
I think we're all feeling the weight of teachers leaving the profession on our shoulders, and I think especially when you lead on that provision, it's a huge responsibility, because you want the teachers to come in, and they come in aspirational, they come in wanting to succeed. Nobody wants to fail at what they're doing, and it's our role as leads to make sure that they have the support and they can talk about their well-being, and we can put structures in place to help support them. Because if we have happy, motivated, inspired teachers, we have happy, motivated, inspired young people. If we have a happy teacher, we have happy students, and the impact is it just moves forward and it's accelerated. But also in those dark winter months when we all get a niggle and we're coming out and it's dark, when we're out and it's dark, when we're going home, and workload is at its highest peak, sometimes if there is someone there to support, just to touch just to touch base, just to make sure that you have what you need, or you have that little bit of encouragement. It's important. Those kind words are important. And also, we're on side. We want them to develop. We are non-judgmental. We're there to make sure that they can be the best version, the best teacher that they can be. And that's really important, because that belief in that person could be the difference. That support could be the difference, and we can stop teachers leaving the profession.
And that's a huge change. I won't give away your age, but I am 44. And whenever I did my teacher training PGCE first year, it was very judgmental. They loved to tell me how to improve and what wasn't good and what was great. And I didn't get many grades. I got lots of "you could do this better," and it was judgmental. So it's really refreshing to hear that you do it from an angle that isn't judgmental, that it is massively supportive. And one of the reasons that you're really important for me in this podcast is you've got a pretty good success rate as well.
Well, yeah, none of the teachers that have ever come to me have left the profession so far, and I'm touching a whole load of wood here to make sure. Because I do think here at this school, we really do nurture. We nurture and we support and we guide. And if there is any kind of anything that comes forward that needs support, and it's about that holistic support. And don't get me wrong, we are transparent, but we have what we call radical candor. We lead with that, and it's really important to be frank and open, so that we can then have those conversations about, well, what is happening here and how can we help you? And ultimately, we're here to support you. We're not here to tell you, I'm going to fail you now. That's it, I'm going to put you on an action plan, capability, and get you out of the profession. Because they come into the profession with an ideology, with a passion, and with something to give back. We just need to nurture them as best as we can, and to provide them with the support, subject support, CPD, development, and a culture that allows them to thrive within themselves.
And that bit's really important, is the culture side. And if you're saying that you've got a culture where you're people focused, you want kids to be successful, socially, emotionally, academically, because the teachers or the middle leaders are successful socially, emotionally, and in their academia area, which is learning to be teachers or progressing as teachers. That all merges quite well together. You also, I believe, are a community manager.
So I line manage the community manager. So we call it our Central Plus provision, and it's all of our extracurricular and co-curricular, our sports, our community sports area that we open up as a community gym. So we invite women from the community, and then later on, anyone who wants to come and join it. We put on classes to support the health and well-being of our community. So get the women of the community to come in and invest in themselves, so they can then invest in their children, and do activities together. Our Central Plus provision is amazing. It's about developing the cultural capital of students, but providing them with opportunities that go beyond the scope of the curriculum. Horse riding, karate, self-defense. We do a range of rock climbing. We do a range of activities every half term. We have a week of activities that students can book into, which we provide at subsidized cost, so that because we are serving a contextual community here, so we need to be mindful of that. But it's very, very successful, and it helps raise the aspirations of our girls. It helps them become global citizens as well. We do a lot of that. That's really important.
It is really interesting. Years ago, and I won't give you a time frame, because just in case the person listens to this, this person I worked with once said to me, "We're not the NHS, we're not the fire brigade, we're not the police, we're not," and this person went off on a big rant about what we're not. But actually, if you can be community heroes, or let's get rid of the word heroes, if you can be community sort of like pillars, your kids do better in your school because they feel more belonging towards it. So actually, it is good to be a little bit of the NHS, and it is good to be a little bit of the police, and it is good to, because if the community see you doing that, and it's fantastic, like you're saying, particularly in Bermondsey or Tower Hamlets, it can only benefit, and it's all girls as well, it can only benefit them going forward.
If they can see themselves in aspirational role models around them, if the families can support in those narratives, if we can work as a community, we can move forward. And I think that's really important. And having the extracurricular programs allow us to do that, I think, and it's really, really important.
Yeah, I think if you go into schools that are not performing as well as they would like, usually, often, one of the big reasons is because there's a disconnect. I'm not going to say broken, but there's a disconnect or there's a little fracture between the school and the community. And if you can start to repair that, things improve. Everything just improves slightly because people want to feel that sense of belonging. And once you've got community spirit, well, that's really good. Like, remember the dinners we all had after COVID out in the streets.
Yeah, that was lovely.
It was
That was
amazing,
just a
wasn't
sense of spirit. Was community and spirit is really important. I mean, I'm outward facing, so I also, to support the girls and to make sure that I was, ahead of the game with leadership and changes. I joined an advisory board. I joined a company as an advisory board member called Unlock, and they're part of a Changemakers Alliance, and they are working throughout the country to develop young change makers I found that really empowering, and I brought that back into the school, and it has really created a change in the girls and students and their narratives about themselves.
Yeah, I'd written that down. I was going to ask you about Unlock because I had a little looked on LinkedIn before we spoke, and I saw the little orange symbol. I saw it. You brought it up. Thank you. Right, I've got two more bits to do. We're 11 minutes in, probably 10 minutes in. There's two things I want to ask you. So I'm really keen, and I know in education we all find it a little bit awkward to say what our superpower is. And I think the best way I can do it is say to you, I have X-ray vision. Saiqua, what's your superpower?
I had to think about this. I think I motivate and inspire. I motivate and inspire people, and I motivate and inspire young people. That is my superpower, and I think that's what I'm going to hold on to.
That's absolutely huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, if for anybody who sort of watched this or picked it up or listened to it, if you were to then, because of your superpower and the knowledge that you have around it, what bit of advice could you offer to anyone within our educational world?
I think it's important to challenge your internal negative narratives initially. When you say you can't do something, no, change it. You can do it. But also, if you're starting off in teaching and that negative narrative has a way of rearing its head, make sure that you have an opportunity to write down all the good things that happen. And then at different points when you're feeling low or down, read through some of those positive things. I mean, I've got some of the cards that students and teachers have written me over the years. And when I have a moment, sometimes I have a quick read and it lifts me up. And you've got to remember, it's a challenging profession, but my God, is it rewarding. And we're making an impact on children day in, day out. And those children come with a context. And we are only part of that context, but we're a huge influence in their lives. And we're helping them and we're supporting them and we're making them shape their future. And we can do that and they can help us, but we've got to believe in them and we've got to believe in ourselves.
Yeah, and importantly, if you make the difference in the kid's life, the family also will see benefits. I've got one final question for you, and then we'll wrap it up. So your superpower is that you inspire people, and you can show how you do that. But do you have without giving names because of safeguard GDPR all that stuff? Do you have like a story you can give us before we go?
I've got several stories I'd give you. I'm not going to take up all your time. But one particular one was when I taught this young lady many years ago. I teach chemistry; that's my primary passion. And she came with her context, and there were safeguarding issues available around her. And she sat down. She goes, "I can't do this. I want to be a scientist. I want to go into biomedical sciences, but I can't do this. Everything's just too hard." And she'd gone through some bereavement and some personal issues, and through coaching and sharing my own personal story with her, I managed to support her into making herself feel better, challenging that in a negative chatter, and guided her towards university. where she was successful. I lost contact with her, and then years later, she was part of a master's program with another student that also had me, and they mentioned, oh, blah blah. Did you have Miss Zainab when you were at that school? And she goes, yeah, yeah. And they both gelled over the fact that I was so strict, which seems to be something that follows me around everywhere I go. And this email popped up. And she said, I hope you don't mind me contacting you. This other student who knows of another student passed me your email details. And I just want to let you know I've started a PhD in this chemistry field. And I wanted to tell you how your support in that moment of time over that period helped not only motivate me, inspire me, and keep me grounded. And I think I needed that message at that time because I was going through a moment of, do I leave teaching after 20 years? Do I stay in teaching? And it's moments like that when you think, this is lovely that some young person has sought me out, thought about me, reflected on the impact I've had, and then thought about thanking me in an email. It was just a really uplifting moment.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
amazing. It is amazing, and just I remember it was years ago. I had a friend who worked for a well-known broadcasting company, and they worked in the complaints department. And what that company did at the time was, for every one complaint, they would times it and make it 1,000. So then they could work out roughly how many complaints there were. But for every positive comment, they would take one, and it would be 10,000. So for someone to go out of her way to come back and find you through someone to find you, to tell you how wonderful you are, must mean that you're absolutely wonderful. Saiqua, thank you so much for being on my podcast. And
Thank you.
yeah, you are wonderful. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you. It's been
Very
a pleasure.
welcome.
Bye bye.